All right, because of how it has all played out this afternoon, I have a feeling we will start this conversation now, but we may have to spill over into the second hour of the show with this conversation. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry into the allegations of interference, political interference, as well as criminal collaboration within the justice system has been front and center with explosive testimonies. Our first witness last week was KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lt Gen Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, whose evidence shook the political tree, as it were, placing senior politicians at the center of the alleged rot. Then this week, it was the turn of the National Police Commissioner, General Fannie Masemola, who claimed President Cyril Ramaphosa himself was surprised by Police Minister Senzo Mchunu's directive to disband the political killings task team. And then the next witness to take the stand was head of the SABC's legal division, Major General Petronella van Rooyen, who told the commission that the minister had no authority at all to issue the instruction to disband the political killings task team. Witness for the week yesterday was the KwaZulu-Natal National Prosecuting Authority head, Elaine Harrison, who said that the task team was doing quote-unquote wonderful work, and that she only learned of the disbandment of the task team through social media reports. So we'll unpack all of that, and I'm by legal analyst Melusi Xulu, as well as from the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, CASAC, by Dan Mafura. But before we get into that conversation, I want to play an excerpt from the testimony and evidence of the National Police Commissioner, just what he said, some of what he said about the disbandment of the political killings task team. Take a listen. All right, we'll come back to that clip in a moment. Let me go to the opening thoughts. Let me start with you, Melusi Xulu, before we play that clip from the National Police Commissioner. Much of the focus, as much as, you know, the question we are seeking to ask is about collusion with criminal syndicates, is about collusion with criminals in the criminal justice system. It's about political interference, but much of what we've covered thus far has been about the political killing task team and the manner in which it was disbanded. Just grapple with that for me for a moment. How does that element, bigger puzzle of what we're to answer here?
Okay, good afternoon to you, Smelan, and to the viewer at home, and to my fellow guest, Mr. Mafura. Just as a slight correction, it's Melusi Xulu. Melusi Xulu is my uncle. But,
apologies for that. Yeah.
All right. Firstly, you know, the bigger picture of this commission, as Melan said, they look at the criminality and the political interference and also the corruption of the criminal justice system. The opening statement of the Justice Madlanga was that, you know, we need a criminal justice system that upholds the rule of law, because that speaks to the functionality of our constitutional democracy. So that is important. Now, there's a disbandment of a functional task team, that becomes a problem. But before we come to that, the question is, what was the task team doing? I mean, you look at the stats, as Melanie, we've got 612 dockets that were opened and investigated. We've got 128 people that have been convicted in 106 cases. We've got 35 police officers that have been arrested. I can go on, and it shows that it's functional. Yesterday, Advocate Zungu, or Advocate Elaine, specified that she was surprised that this task team was being disbanded or de-established when it was functional, it was working. So the main issue is, and I think this will be answered by the minister, what led him to believe that there's no value in the PKTT? Because that's what he stated in his letter on the 31st of December. It shows that it was very urgent for him to write the letter on the eve of the new year. But it begs the question, what led him to believe it was not functional? Number two, who did he consult? Because National Commissioner stated that, for the first PKTT, when it was disbanded in 2017, there was consultation, stakeholders were involved. The National Commissioner then, Khehla was involving the NPA, the correctional services, and all the relevant stakeholders. They were consulting that it was not effective. But in this case, who did he consult? So it begs the question as to also what is his role in this, because we know that as a minister, your role is to look at the policy and to look at legal framework, and to also have a political oversight, but not the operation. And what National Commissioner Masemola stated very clearly was that the how part, that's his prerogative, that's his role. So just to end on this part, I believe the main question will be, did the minister overstep his role?
Yeah. And you frame it very nicely there, Melusi, and apologies for the little confusion at the beginning of the interview. In fact, at this point, I can play that clip that I wanted to play earlier on from the National Police Commissioner talking about the events unfolding ahead of the disbandment of the Political Killings Task Team. And then we'll get the thoughts of Dan Mafura on the other end of that.
These matters were that time in the media, and I asked him that, because he says he was concerned, he wanted to appoint a senior counsel to investigate these matters. What I said to him was, information is yours and is available to you. If you choose to go and appoint a counsel to buy it, it's up to you, but it's readily available to you, and you can get it for free. And he asked the Cindy So Makaka's matter. I said, yes, indeed, it's one of those matters that we said we want to brief you on, because what you see in the media, you know more about what happened in Somakaka. It is exactly because of the PKTT that investigated the matter. The matter happened long before Dumsani Khumalo joined crime intelligence. And when he joined, he unearthed this. He investigated, he arrested people on this. Currently, we know there are various witnesses that have been protected for this specific case. So it's a case that is unearthed by us. So you can't say, for example, you always hear out there that the vehicle that killed Siniso Magaga was come from crime intelligence. Yes, indeed so, but the reason why you know that is because of the PKTT that investigated the matter. In this case of the Political Killings Task Team, it is a task team that is working at a lower level under provincial commissioner. If ever he found anything wrong with the task team, he could say, that task team, I think you need to disband it, and you can engage in the terms of the why, how, and so on. But to go further to say disband, but then after saying disband, then you go further to say now, not even tomorrow. I think that is totally encroachment into the mandate of the National Commissioner in terms of performance of my duty. At no point during our interaction did the minister indicate any intention to disband the PKTT, let alone immediately or express concerns about its operations. This lack of prior warning made the subsequent developments all the more unexpected. He further said that Mr. Matlala is very close to General Sibiya, and the concern of coming to me was that there is no way that General Sibiya can oversee this investigation.
All right, so what you heard there are various excerpts that relate to different aspects, right? So it's all on one theme, but a couple of themes that were attested to by the National Police Commissioner, Fannie Masemola, during his testimony. For example, that latter part, he was talking about someone who approached him basically and saying that in terms of the investigation that they wanted to be done, they did not want Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya to be involved at all because of his alleged proximity to Mr. Brown, not Mr. Brown Mokgotsi, the other man mentioned, whose name just escapes my mind at the moment. All right, let's bring in Dan Mafura from CASAC. Dan, the focus of the evidence has been on the delineation of roles between the political head of the policing function overall in government, as well as the person leading operations in the form of the National Police Commissioner. Why is that important?
So thank you very much for having me. I think, you're right that this has dominated the proceedings so far. And it's a question about what actually is the role of the Minister of Police. And a big debate that is now coming out, I've heard from the testimony of Major General Van Rooyen, is this distinction between what is a policy issue and what is an operational. And the role of the minister really is meant to be that he directs the policy direction or controls the policy direction of the police, by drafting policy like we know that we have now a national crime policy, or national policing policy rather, that was released in June of this year, and that sets up the priorities for policing for
next few years.
And so the issue is really about, can the minister go beyond simply directing the policy for the police and actually instruct police officers and police officials to do certain things? And that was what the National Commission was saying, to say, that's my job as National Commissioner. I give the orders to police officials as to what they are to do, when and how. And in this case, the disbanding of the PKTT, that instruction came from the minister. And so the question is that direction or that instruction to disband the PKTT a policy or a operational issue?
Yeah, in fact, we can say a bit more about that. And the name I was looking for earlier on when I got stuck is Vusumuzi Nhlanhla, the man that is alleged to have enjoyed a special and a close relationship with Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya. But to the point you are making, Dan, I think we can play a clip of Major General Petronella Van Rooyen from the Legal Services Department at the SAPS, talking to that issue specifically, the delineation between what is political and policy responsibility versus operational control and command of the SAPS. Take a listen.
From a regulatory standpoint and based on the legislative excursus detailed above, I am of a view that the decision to disband the PKTT as a task team lay within the exclusive authority of a national commissioner, and that the minister did not have the legislative authority to disband the PKTT. Not only an usurping of powers of a national commissioner, but also under constitutional objects of a SABC as set out in section 205(3), especially in respect of ongoing criminal investigations and the potential risk that further crime be committed. It means the investigations are stagnant. Nothing is happening. On that investigation, you would expect the police to proceed as fast as possible and make a breakthrough. But the longer the dockets remain unattended, the more difficult it becomes to investigate that cases properly. Evidence get lost, witnesses forget with time, and therefore the investigation, any investigation, will be detrimentally affected if it is stored somewhere and no attention it doesn't receive attention in the furtherance of the investigation.
Melusi Xulu, let me turn back to you and ask you about some of what we heard about who knew what when this decision to disband the political killings task team. The name of President Ramaphosa also featured some of that testimony that the impression was given, or it was said, to the police commissioner. In fact, initially, he had approached the president to say, you know, there's this decision being taken. I'm unhappy with it. What can you do? But later on, the impression was given to the police commissioner that the president was on board with this. How important is it that those questions are answered appropriately as to who knew what, when, and acceded to what in relation to this decision?
Yes, I think the issue of the president's knowledge needs to be cleared, really, because I'm aware that the minister, when he spoke to the National Commissioner or Police Commissioner, he stated that the president is aware and is consulted him. But in February this year, we were told that the president was surprised when he was told by the National Commissioner. And maybe perhaps he may say he was aware or not, but we need clarity from the president to say when he got that knowledge, what was his reaction to it? Because like we said in the beginning, the minister shouldn't be involved in the operations of the functioning of the police. He should leave it to the National Commissioner to deal with the operations. And when the president is aware of that, then we need to know if he did know. That is an if he did know, what actions did he do, what was his view on it. My only question on this one, maybe I might have missed it, as Melanie, is there an official communication to the president about the disbandment? Because I think that is where he can specifically answer about it. But in any case, I've just seen right now that he's part of the 34 witnesses. It would be helpful for him to clear that up. But, there's just a concern on my side. I don't know if the nation will be aware or really concerned that, for us and discuss about the criminality into the criminal justice system or the SAPS, it's quite concerning because it shows that we do not have a healthy, functional criminal justice system. But at this point, it's still being investigated, and the people who are implicated will come and answer.
Den Mafura, let me throw the question to you as well. How important is it that the nation is taken into confidence about what the president knew in relation to this, in a context where if the minister who is on leave now, Senzo Mchunu, is accused of political interference, straddling and crossing the lines between what his constitutional responsibility is and what the responsibility of the commissioner is, the complicity, quote-unquote, complicity of the president? How important is it that that circle is squared?
I think it's absolutely crucial to establish whether the president knew about the disbandment of this political task team, whether he received a briefing from the Minister of Police who recommended the disbandment, or whether he is the one who instructed the minister to instruct to instruct the National Commissioner to disband PKTT. I think all of that is going to become very important because it would imply, of course, that the political interference goes just beyond the Minister of Police. But if this was the Minister of Police's own initiative to issue the instruction, then that's something different. And then we have to ask questions about, what does the president know, doesn't know, and does he rely on the information provided by the minister or by his ministers to make decisions? And how far, what reasons were given by the Minister of Police if it requested the president's permission to disband?
So I want to talk about the spillover effect of some of these decisions and allegations as they relate to the SAPS, but the spillover effect being on other elements of the criminal justice system. Because if we go back to the original media briefing by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, it was all-encompassing, wasn't it, in terms of the criminal justice system. Also this week, we got to hear from Elaine Harrison, the Director of Public Prosecutions in KwaZulu-Natal, talking exactly to that element. Let me play this clip before I get your thoughts on that element.
So you nearly thought it was fake news. When you returned from leave, did your opinion change?
After I returned to the office in January 2025, I was informed by Advocate Gaba, the dedicated prosecutor who's responding to the task team matters, that the social media reports may be true because the team had been informed by General Khumalo only to continue with matters that had been enrolled or were waiting for decision.
Now, have you ever formally been notified of the disestablishment of the task team?
At no stage was any formal communication addressed to my office notifying us of the de-establishment of the task team.
And you've been describing attempts to provide better coordination around political killings. Did those attempts have a positive result?
Commissioners, that is correct. That is correct. The documents which we have just briefed as Annexure D, and once we had dedicated capacity from the organized crime component, which is now a political task team, it seemed everything was then put into place. We're not saying there weren't any further challenges that may have been found, but that was the coordination that yielded the results that were being requested for.
So that was Elaine Harrison. Dan Mafura, this point with you. The importance of getting the full answers about the spillover effect of some of what General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has been alleging had its roots in the SAPS and the operations and activities of some officials in the SAPS, but implications for the rest of the criminal justice system in the manner that is being described by Elaine Harrison there.
Yes, so I mean, like Advocate Harrison was explaining at the commission, the PKTT and units within the NPA in KZN had been working together and had formed an integrated structure working on these cases that the PKTT was investigating, getting them ready for prosecution. And you'll know from General Mkhwanazi's own testimony that there were these dockets, the so-called 121 dockets that were requested by General Sibia to be sent to head office, that we heard from General van Rooyen that had not been investigated, and so they've been sitting there while they should have been investigated, and work was supposed to have been done, get them ready for trial. And so obviously the abrupt disbandment of this, or the uncertainty about the status of this political killings task team, means that prosecutions cannot continue and that the NPA is not able to do its job, And so it has implications, not the SAPS itself, but for the NPA, which, as we heard, had dedicated capacity to the cases that were coming out of this task team.
Melusi Xulu, just on that point, but also talking to your expectations are as the commission moves into, we were told that it would have 3 phases, right? Initial testimony, then those who mentioned would then come through, and then eventually General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi would come back a bit later on to respond to some of what will be said in rebuttal or in response to some of his testimony. What are your expectations going forward? What questions do you still have that you would like to see answered?
Yes, I believe that, I believe General Khumalo will come on Monday. He had a case that he had to attend to. Remember, there was a case opened against him, so he will come Monday and obviously clarify as the person who was overseeing the PKTT team. So obviously we need him to come in and finish that up. And then the phase 2 is, I think everyone is waiting for phase 2. We need to know exactly what the minister's role was, and then we need to know his response. Obviously, we're also waiting for the president as well at some point, and some others. I don't know if they'll bring Madlanga, but one would be interested that he should be brought. I know that his bail was denied. There are a lot of us who are implicated that we need to know what their role was. So we're expecting that to happen. The reason why I believe phase 2 is important, Madam, and I must mention this. Yes, we've had very strong allegations, and there's been evidence that has been brought, and we want to see how it will be rebutted, because we do have constitutional rights of an accused person in terms of Section 35 to be alleged to be innocent until proven guilty. As much as this is a commission of inquiry, it's not a trial, but we still need to benefit of a doubt and hear their side. But the allegations are very strong. So as a nation, we need to know exactly what their role was, because like the justice stated, Madlanga, he stated that, once you subvert the criminal justice system, it destabilizes the rule of law and a functional constitutional democracy. And as I said earlier, the fact that we're discussing allegations of improper doing or unlawful acts allegedly by the people that we expect to be the line of defense is very concerning. So phase 2 will be very interesting to see whether these allegations can be challenged or not.
All right, I've got to thank both of you, and also thank you for just being patient with us, as you had to wait for quite a bit as we were wading through some of the stories, the live events that we were covering. That's as well as Dan Mafura weighing in on the goings on at the Madlanga Commission over the last few days. This is the Weekend Review on SABC News. I'm back with more for you in just a moment.